they will loan you $100,000 to get your degree. And then you graduate with that degree and you say, hey, I want to open up this business. Here's my business idea. I want a loan. They're like, nope. Right? That's such a scam. Learning how to trade, that's not hard at all. If somebody spends a week with me, I can teach them how to trade. But learning how to make money is completely different. Right now, we are in a very historical time in place. I think this is a very crucial time in history where in the next year is going to decide the trajectory of the United States and even the world, so to speak.
Hey, Anmol, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Now, full disclosure, we know each other. We've worked with each other for a couple of years, so I've got to know you. And I wanted to bring you in because if anyone doesn't know you and they just look you up, they're going to find out that you made your money as a high-paid consultant in the trading and investing industry, launched Live Traders in 2015, which is now, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to get you on, now voted as one of the #1 trading education firms for 3 years in a row. Now, you know about money, you know about trading. Why are so many people scared of having a conversation about the one thing that gives us that freedom we all yearn for?
I think people have been coached into believing that there's somebody else knows more than them, so they should give their money to the hedge funds, right? They should just give them their money so that they can charge them the pesky fees. And most hedge fund managers actually underperform the market, right? You're actually better off just buying the S&P 500 and, you'll beat a majority of the hedge fund managers out there. So I think the industry is formulated in a way that the brokers want you to rely on them, the hedge fund managers want you to give them their money, and they don't want people to take control and do it themselves. So I think that's one of the reasons why people shy away from it. And also, I think it seems complicated now. Like when you get into it, there's all these numbers moving, like what's going on. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with that until they realize that it's actually not that complicated.
Clarity is always king. And today, in a world of mass distraction, I'm constantly yelling that. I should probably wear a T-shirt saying it. People like to act as though they're smarter than they are. And they're like, well, I can't really explain it to you. And the world of credit, mortgages, loans, and finances is shrouded by what almost seems like an attempt to keep you in the dark. And you run a platform where people can trade themselves. They become educated to understand the pitfalls, what it works out. How easy is it to be in control of your own money?
So being in control of your money is easy, but being in control of yourself with your money is actually a whole different ballgame, right? So I think that's where majority of people fall short, is that learning how to trade, that's not hard at all. If somebody spends a week with me, I can teach them how to trade. But learning how to make money is completely different, right? Because for that, you have to control your mindset. The human emotions of fear and greed take over all the time. And that's what causes us to make stupid decisions at time, right? I mean, research was already done. Trading releases the same hormones of dopamine and serotonin, the same ones you get when you have sex, you do cocaine, you gamble. Now imagine with traders, we're getting those hits every single day in real time. So if you're not emotionally stable, if you can't control yourself, that's a recipe for failure in this business. So I think learning how to control yourself is the #1 difference maker between those who succeed in this business versus those who don't.
I remember one of our conversations we had was you were talking about the emotional content in trading and how many people did get swayed by quite simply the pretty picture or the pretty press release, all of those things that are put out there to basically give you that hit, to make you think, oh, this is the golden goose. You say about the emotion, how can we refine our emotional range to be able to focus on what's important, what works, and to not look at what glitters?
Yeah, so we tell people to make, objective decisions based on data, based on hardcore numbers. Because I always tell people, hedge fund managers, Jim Cramer on TV, they all can lie to you. One thing that's not going to lie to you is your own facts, your own spreadsheet, your own data. So we teach people how to create their own data so they can rely on that rather than a third party. Because everybody, has a agenda of some sort, right? Brokers want you to keep buying and selling because that's how they make their commissions, right? Hedge funds want you to give them the money because that's how they make their money. So it's all a circle to keep people in the dark most of the time. And think about it. You go to school, you learn all sorts of stuff about gender studies and all of that, but they don't teach you about taxes. They don't teach you about money. They don't teach you about how investments actually work. They don't even talk about compounding in all of your college degrees. So I think it's crazy that people aren't taught a lot of that. And when the emotional part comes into play is now that you've got a strategy, right, you learn how to execute it. but can you actually follow through on it, right? It's almost like, you tell somebody, hey, you just eat less, work out more, but then some people do it, some people don't. And I think that's what trading really is. It's the closest thing to a sport where some people make it, some don't, but those who make it are focused on the data. They're focused on their own data, not relying on a third party or an article they read online, thinking that they got the edge because I read something. Well, millions of other people read the same article. So what edge do you really have?
Hey, I'm sorry for interrupting this podcast. I know it's a brilliant one, but I wanted to talk to you about your room, your connections. Now, we know full well that great things come from great connections and great rooms. Now, if you're in a room full of people that will challenge you, inspire you, motivate you, and support you, then great. But if not, then maybe I have the solution for you. Head on over to stevedsims.com, look up Sims Distillery there, and join our community of creative disruptors, those that are only not there to help you and motivate and actually give you information, but to support and answer questions. We very much vet the room to make sure that we support each other's growth. We all want each other to grow. So if you want to be in the right room, head on over to stevedsims.com/Sims Distillery, and I'll see you inside my room. Enjoy the rest of the show. We spoke a while back, and you're talking about agendas, and you're talking about what everyone knows, that the education system today doesn't even tell you how to open up a bank account. I just find it it's hilarious to a point, if it wasn't so scary, that the school doesn't teach us how to focus on what a credit rating is, how to build up credit, how to open up a bank account, how to apply for your own financial control. And most of the time they don't want to educate us because on the other side of the fence, the banks want to keep us in the dark and have us relying on them. So we're relying on that stupidity to go, oh, well, the banks know better than us, when quite simply the banks are a profit margin. They are a corporation to take our money and benefit them first, us second. You talk about that education. Where did you get your education from?
So I got my, degree from Brunel University in London. I was born and raised in India, and I always had a desire to leave India for some reason. I wanted to just be independent, and I felt like I, didn't really fit in there. And I wanted to explore. I wanted to expand because a lot of people, in my country growing up, they stay in the whole family circle. They don't really get out of the bubble. And I wanted to see what the world's like. So I went to London, spent 5 years there, got my business degree. And one of the things, what you were bringing up about the bank and the loans, think about it. They will loan you $100,000 to get your degree. And then you graduate with that degree and you say, hey, I want to open up this business. Here's my business idea. I want a loan. They're like, nope. Right? That's such a scam. They'll give you the money for the degree, but then now you got the degree, you want to start a business, you can't. They won't loan you money for that. So that's like a biggest realization that I had growing up, because and I realized, okay, I got to take control of my financial future. I can't be relying on a third party to loan me money or give me a job. I got to figure something out. And that's why I was in my dorm room and, just started researching on these topics, writing articles. And I got really good at analyzing companies. So when Yahoo Finance started writing for them, and eventually that kind of led off into me going by myself and trading and building my own career.
Were you just naturally good at it?
I wouldn't say so. I worked at it, I was an introvert, so I'm happy spending time by myself, being on my computer and, doing all those types of things. So for me, it didn't feel like work. I think I was just more curious than anybody else. And I was happy to sit in front of my, in my dorm room and just research and read books and watch videos. I think that's a lot of people don't really do. They're more focused on, I want to go party right now, right? I want to go live the life right now. And what I did was I just kind of hunkered down for a few years in college, and I used that time to build and learn.
And when did you start trading?
I started trading in 2010. So I was in about my first year of university. So originally it started off just me buying and selling a stock, just seeing what the market's about, not really having a strategy or a plan.
Were you thinking that it was going to be a career, or were you doing it for you out of curiosity?
So first I started just to get involved in the stock market. I didn't really think it's going to be a career because growing up I was horrible at math. So anything to do with numbers, I didn't think it was going to be a career for me. But then as I started learning about it, I just became more and more curious, started learning more. And, my mentor, who's actually my business partner now, he taught me how to trade. And he's like, you know what, you got something there. If you can just control your, this little idiot between your brains and just control the emotions, you can actually do pretty well in this business. So I really took that to heart. I just believed him basically. And I call it suspension of disbelief. I suspended all my disbeliefs. I said, all right, this guy's making it. He's making money. I'm just going to do what he says. And I think that's one of the things that people are missing right now, just humbling yourself and listening to other people who know more than you do.
You say humbling. The marketplace is a very humbling place to be, because it can, you can have all the brain power in the planet. Everyone was like knee deep in NFTs and cryptocurrency, and then the market just went against them. So, we don't know what we don't know. So, how do you handle those moments when the world just goes the other way?
Yeah, I mean, that's happening right now to me on a Tesla stock position that I'm in, But the thing is to have a plan, just like you would not enter a business, right, without a business plan. You're not going to enter a trade or an investment without an investment plan. So before we get into any investment or trade, I always tell people to know three things: when you're going to get in, when you're going to get out if you're wrong, right, and when you're going to get out if you're right, because that's as equally important. A lot of people just keep buying and holding on to stocks that never sell, and they miss out. Like 2020, everything was on a run up. Cryptos went on a run up, but a lot of people kept holding. Right, I'm just going to hold it, and it came all the way back down. So learning how to take profits and learning how to take losses. That's key. Learning how to take losses. Don't get tied to your bias that I think Bitcoin is going to be the next big thing. If it's going down, get out. When it starts to reverse, you can always get back in it. I think learning how to take those paper cut losses was the difference maker.
So you took your training. Did you ever have losses, or were you just always brilliant?
I wish I was always brilliant, but not close to that. My whole first year, I lost money, right? Because I was still trying to figure it out. And then also the thing is that you realize that emotions play a huge role when greed kicks in, right? You should supposed to get out of the stock, take your profit, but you're like, maybe it'll go higher. Let me keep holding on, right? Or if it's going down, you're like, I think it'll come back up, because Warren Buffett talks about buy and hold, but what most people end up doing is buy and hope. And hope is not a strategy. So I think first year, lost money my whole first year, but eventually kind of worked it back up. I think year 3 is when I kind of turned the corner into actually making some good money.
So one of the things you've said repetitively is the curiosity. And as I've traveled the planet speaking with some amazing people in the planet, that thread has always been there. Everyone, whether it be Larry Page, whether it be Elon Musk, whether it be head of a Fortune 500 company, there's always that curiosity. What's next? Where are we going? What can we do? Why does it need to be done like that? And that curiosity is giving birth to so much technology to do things differently. So with that curiosity, with the fact that we're just walking into an election year now, where we're going to be bombarded by conspiracy and media hype and disinformation and confusion, where is your curiosity telling you that we're going to go over the next 2 to 5 years? And that's a big question. I'm not asking for financial advice, but what do you think? Maybe our mindset. What kind of games are you thinking is going to be out there for that next period?
Yeah, so I think right now we are in a very historical time in place. I think this is a very crucial time in history where in the next year is going to decide the trajectory of the United States and even the world, so to speak. Because the world could either go to the right or go to the left. And I think 2024 is a pretty big difference maker. So for me, I think 2024 is going to be a tough year for the markets and for financial instruments as general. I think really depends on who's elected on 2024. Again, not to take political sides, but there's pro-business candidates, there's less business candidates that are more for the socialism and spreading the wealth around rather than spending into the economy. So I think for us, depending on who gets elected, if there's a Republican candidate, in my opinion, the markets will go higher, just like we saw in 2016. If there's another Democrat gets elected, there's a possibility that we might be entering a recession, which I think we're already in it one, but they keep changing the data. They said, oh, inflation's actually coming down if you remove food, if you remove house prices. I'm like, you removed everything else. What's left in there? So we're actually in a recession. I think it's going to be a very crucial time to save cash. And I think that's a lot of people are not getting that. Their credit card debt's still at the highest with a buy now, pay later, which I think is going to be like buy now, default later. Companies like Affirm, where people are leveraging themselves and they're taking a lot of credit. I think that's a very tricky situation that we're seeing. And I think people aren't valuing the actual value of having cash in your account. I think it's the time to not make any, many investments at the moment. Save cash. Trust me, there's going to be great opportunities in the next couple of years, but you want to have cash in the bank.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing that. I saw something funny, and you mentioned India. I have a lot of people that I work with in India, and I had a lot of clients in my concierge days from India, and I got landed on my in my inbox this morning a report by a company called Visual Capitalist, who said that in 2024 there'll be over 13 million people enter middle class. And when you enter middle class, you're now in the buying spread, because the middle class, when you're really, really wealthy, you don't actually spend a lot of money. The middle class is where a lot of the money is being spent. And they mentioned India as one of the biggest growing communities of new middle class being born for 2024. So we're seeing the world growing. Now, funny enough, when they looked at these 13.1 million new middle class that were growing, none of that market was America. It was all Asia, Pakistan, India, even Africa. That was going into that marketplace. So we're seeing a lot more of the planet dominating the middle class. What's that going to do to where we should invest, who our clients should be? Do you think we should be looking at that marketplace rather than just our hometown?
Yeah, I think emerging markets are going to play a pretty big role in the next coming years because of all that's happening geopolitically, and the dollar's kind of losing its value because we just keep printing more. We just give everybody like, here's a gift, here's more money. So I think because of that, and I think there was a statistic was 70% of US dollars in existence today were all printed from 2020 onwards. Think about that. 70% of all US dollars were printed 2020 onwards. So that's a lot of printing, and that devalues the currency, and foreign investors don't really want to put money in the US market. You're even seeing treasury bonds right now just crash, right? The bond values are coming down, interest rates are raising. So I think emerging economies start to look more and more lucrative going forward. I will say though, I believe in the India story a lot more than the China story, because the China story, the problem is that you don't have checks and balances. So you're taking it on the word that, yes, that's how much we did. But you're taking it on the word. And we've seen a lot of Chinese companies, when they actually get audited, it's nothing close to what they were showing. But whereas India still has KPMG, Deloitte, those big auditing companies looking at those companies. So I think India is actually going to be a huge player. Africa is coming up too. I still believe in the United States story. I still think the United States is still the best place to invest at the moment. But 2024 is going to be that pivotal point that's going to decide how the next 5-10 years go.
Yeah, I actually had my book, slightly digressing, but I actually had Bluefishing and Go for Stupid. Both, one of the first markets to pick the book up was India. And the book has done incredibly well in that marketplace. So don't ignore outside your front picket fence. There are markets out there. So just be, as an entrepreneur, just be a little bit open-minded. And we're seeing 2024, and you're telling us keep the cash. So I'm talking to, again, one of the top-rated trading firms out there, and you're telling me not to trade, keep the cash. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing, or am I hearing it wrong?
So my opinion is trade it, don't date it, right? So don't get married into investments where you're making an investment, you're going to hold on forever. What you want to do is trades, right? Trades are what we do for cash flow, where we're in and out. We're taking advantage of the smaller moves, but we're getting out. We're not holding on for like a big move. So that's kind of the difference between trading and investing. Investing is where you buy something and you're planning to hold it for a few years. You're adding every month. Whereas trading is where we're taking advantage of the smaller spikes. So trading, there's still a lot of opportunity every single day. In fact, the more volatile the markets are, the more the opportunities for traders. But trade it, don't date it. But trading is a skill that people could learn. And that's kind of what we teach at livetraders.com is we trade live every single day. That's where the name came from, is we trade live every single day. Win or lose, people get to see it in real time. And I think that pressure makes me a better trader, knowing like thousands of people are paying to watch me trade. And, I got to be disciplined because I got to lead by example. If I do something stupid, the whole world's watching it and it's going to be on all over Twitter the next day. So it keeps me emotionally in check. So I tell people, selfishly, I'm doing it for myself because streaming it and trading live in front of people makes me a better trader.
Now, I follow you on Instagram, and you've just mentioned your website, but let's repeat it. Let's make it clear. Where can people follow you best on social?
Twitter and Instagram is where I'm the most active. My username on both of those is Delta90, DELTANINETY. It's all spelled out. Don't ask me why I have it. I got it a long time ago, and it got verified, so I'd never changed it, and I can't change it anymore. They don't let me change it. But that's the username. And as far as trading is concerned, livetraders.com. There's a free guide actually available I put together at livetradersguide.com, where there's a 2-hour introductory course that I personally taught that people can download completely for free and get started. And maybe they watch it and they realize, this is not for me. And that's totally okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Repeat that website where they can get that free guide.
livetradersguide.com.
All right. Anmol, I love you, man. I love the way you stand up and you show up. As I say, I follow him on Instagram and he does some great videos on there. So, he kind of like comes at you, thick and hard. And you're right. It may not be for you. And that's great. Make that decision before you make mistakes. But if you are ready to play the game and get the hits he's talking about, then head on over to him. Anmol, thank you very much. Any parting words?
No, it was great chatting with you, and thanks for having me. And I think I would just tell people that investment in landscape is going to get really interesting. You want to get started with your financial education now rather than wait till the opportunity, because you might not be ready when it presents itself.
Perfect. Anmol, thanks for showing up as a guest, and see you soon, pal. Look after yourself. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was another episode of the Art of Making Things Happen podcast with me, your host, Steve Sims. If you like it, you know the scoop. Subscribe, tell your friends, share it around. Let them get benefit from this juice. And of course, if you want to change the room you're in, join Sims Distillery. Jump over to stevedsims.com/Sims Distillery, or you can find a link directly from that website. That's the room where creative disruptors get together to actually help each other become better. If you've got standards or you want higher standards, join the right room. See you next time.